What time's the show tonight?
Um, I'm not sure if anything that just happened was supposed to happen. It was supposed to go. Maybe we could just start it all over again. Let's start from the beginning. You want to? Or no? Let's just keep doing it the way we're doing it. What do you want to do?
And we're live, coming to you here at the mountain stream.
That
Adam,
was just disgusting.
it's good to see you. Jeez Louise, we've
It's
been
good to
jumping
see
through
you
a
too,
lot.
Jake. Yeah, always having fun here on the channel. Had a good night last night with you. That was interesting, huh?
Little hair of the dog that bit me. I'm afraid.
Yeah, I got some errands done today, though. I was actually pretty productive. I went out and got some pressure treated posts for a fence for the berry patch I'm going to be putting in this year, hopefully with your help, so I don't get more of this. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Poison ivy, Jake. Poison ivy.
My back's hurting already. My back's hurting already.
I know. We're going to put you to work. What time you want to come over tomorrow?
Well, geez, I like to early to bed, early too, guys. So whatever you're comfortable with. I mean,
6:30.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't have to break any records. You got to ease into things, Adam.
11 o'clock it is. Let's see here. Looks like boots on the ground with Barb's in here. Hey, guys. Hey, Barb. And Big Rob. What up, my man? Tonight we have a fun show going on Mountain Stream live. There's always some kind of glitch. There's always some kind of Andy Gone Fishing's here. Yo, what up, bud? We always have some kind of technical difficulty. And VA Moon, how you doing? And just like any other show, me and Jake are trying to figure out some technical difficulties. My other computer that I usually do the streaming on just decided that it doesn't want to turn on ever again, just all of a sudden. So we're on a different computer here, and we're trying to make the most of it. But I don't want to go on and on about these computer problem stories, Jake. I want to talk to our guest and start having some fun, get some knowledge out of this gent. Just a real quick story for you. I was watching Amazon Prime movies, as I do on rainy days sometimes, and I was just sitting there clicking through, and I see this movie on there. I think it was something like the Alien Bigfoot Connection Revealed, I think is what it was called. And it was good. It was nice and long, but it was never boring. It was fun to watch. There was some different things in there, some different takes, some different spins on the subject matter, if you will. And about halfway through, there was this guy on there with a couple other people, and his name was Tobe Johnson, Jake. And I said, you know what, Adam? I says to myself, I think I'll reach out and see if I can get a hold of this gentleman, see if he'll want to come on our show and talk about the same type of stuff that we're involved in. And I did. And he said, yeah, he'd come on. And so he's in the waiting room, if you will. And I'd like to have him on, Jake, unless you have other plans.
Well, geez, I mean, I'm trying to get the jitters out a little bit. Hold on. My heart's racing a million miles an hour. Put my Sunday go to meeting sweater on.
You look good. You look good.
I haven't worn this since the golf tourney last year, but okay. All right. I mean, okay.
Let's go and do it.
I'm ready when you are. Look, these guys. Hey guys, thanks.
Thanks
for dropping in.
This guy Tobe is he has a YouTube channel, Strange Brow Radio. I've been listening to it lately. It is super cool. If you see this logo out there, guys, in YouTube land, click on it. This is the thumbnail generally that he uses for a lot of the talk shows that he does on his channel. Strange Brow Radio on YouTube. Pretty sick stuff. There's just lots of different content on there. He talks about all sorts of different things, and it's a great platform. It's a great show. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk to the source, the creator of Strange Brow, Mr. Tobe Johnson. There he is. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. You sound great.
All right.
Sound great.
It is hot here, so I have a fan blowing between my legs. And with the show like we're going to pull off today. I think that's going to come in handy. So
yeah,
let's go for it.
Awesome. Now you say it's hot there. Where is there, Tobe? Where are you?
It is Port Orchard, Washington, just north, I guess you'd say northwest of Tacoma, out here on the Kitsap Peninsula in the Olympic National Forest.
Huh. And it's hot there, huh?
It is dickens hot, yeah. Well, I'm upstairs, so heat rises.
Sure.
And it's the quietest place in the house, so that's how much I care.
Yeah, it's a good thing. You got to do what you got to do. I like the dedication. Yesterday, here in the Adirondacks of upstate New York, we woke up to 2 inches of snow on the ground, and then that kind of melted off throughout the day. And then later in the afternoon, I'm like, I'm going to get to that stone wall that I'm going to rebuild, and all of a sudden, blizzard, whiteout, another inch of snow comes, and you know. It was insane. It was cool, actually. It was nice. It really made the woods look beautiful, and it was awesome, but it did chill everything out. So weird stuff. I know it's hot down in the Southwest too, down where my sister is in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's like 110 degrees, and here it was the high of 33 here all day yesterday. So.
That global warming is kicking in.
It is. It's doing its crazy thing.
Kicking in. I'm gonna have a little Bud Light here. It's not a sponsor, but
we don't allow alcohol on our show unless you're drinking it. Cheers, my man. Cheers. Good to have you on. We're really excited. So Strange Brow Radio.
Yeah, man.
How long have you been doing this?
Well, let me get the lighting fixed here. It's all about the lighting, isn't it? So we started doing live shows back in 2010 time frame, and that was under a different name. It's called Bigfoot and Beer, and we met in a little greasy spoon. It was a Ma and Pa pizzeria in Leesburg, Oregon, and so we started putting witnesses together with liquor to see who could tell the story quicker, and it all just went downhill from there.
Serendipity. I like it. I hope that doesn't happen to us, but it very easily could. Me and Jake like to have a little too much fun.
Yeah.
Super cool. I really like that. And now there's another thing you have going, Ales and Tales. What's that all about?
Right. So Alex Whitcomb he's out of I'm trying to remember which part of Canada. He's a Canadian. He's a guy. Vancouver Island area. I don't know if you know Alex, but he's been on a couple shows, including Strange Familiars. That's how I came in contact with him, through Timothy Renner. And so Alex and I do a show once a month, and he'll either interview somebody in Canada, and we'll share the interview together. It's really just a reason to have a beer and hang out with your buddies. Ales and Tales. Yeah.
That's cool. That's a lot of the reason why Jake and I do the BLB, Blue Line Bigfoot, is to gives us a reason to have to hang out together and have to get stuff done and get little projects. You're constantly in contact with one another that way, and we keep it light, we keep it fun. I know there's a lot of bickering and arguments in the Bigfoot community, especially lately, and we don't want to have really anything to do with any of that stuff, because it doesn't get anywhere. It doesn't do anything. We want to have fun, and we want people that are watching to have fun too. But we do have a serious side, but we try to keep that, under lock and key most of the time.
Don't show that side today.
No, hell no.
Yeah, the Bigfoot world is pretty crazy when it comes to the little men involved in this community. And it was my goal to stay clear of all of that BS. But it's so indicative once you start doing conferences or trying to put forth any kind of solid, I hate to use the word evidence, but what else are you going to call hard proof? It has to swing down on the side that they like. And if it's not the side they like, if it doesn't, add points to their worldview, then you're no good. Doesn't matter how good the facts are. And we can get into, but the truth is that this is such a strange story, Sasquatch, that it makes most of these grown men cry. And I've been around them. I mean, these are good people, but grown men aren't supposed to cry, especially in front of their grown men.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm an open crier, Tobe.
Bring a grown man to tears.
yeah, man.
Oh, goodness.
All right, let's play some Neil Diamond.
This thing, it is weird. It is weird. There's so many opinions, and people say that they're facts and all this stuff, and that's fine. It's all fine to me. Just so you know where I'm personally coming from on the subject matter, I think that there's multiple possibilities of what the Bigfoot phenomenon could truly be. And until someone shows you and proves to the world that it's an absolute fact that this is what's going on, until that happens, I'm open for a lot of different avenues to explore, pretty much all of them. And they're fun. They're fun to think about. I mean, all this paranormal stuff, all the things, the unexplainables, that's the fun for me. I like to not know. It's fun to try to figure it out, but it's more fun to have that out there so you can keep going with it and keep wondering. And that wonderment is a fun thing for me personally. I really enjoy it.
Well, there's I live to change your mind and today I'll give it a shot.
Great.
Now, listen, I'm just trying to channel kind of remote view Tobe's high school yearbook, and I'm trying to look underneath where it says the clubs and activities that he was involved in, and I'm trying to read, like, is it like pop singers and French club and tennis and stuff stuff that I was involved in, and like moot court or basketball, soccer. I'm just trying to think. Let's just get off subject real quick.
Okay.
Let's talk about your high school.
Okay.
Photo.
Real quick here, since the heat is such an issue, I'm gonna have to put this fan up on my desk. Is that too loud for you guys? I'm just dying up here. The heat is really
barely
kicking in.
noticed.
So tell me if that's too much.
No, you're fine.
Because I don't want to sit here like a prostitute in church. So let's. Okay. So I started. I graduated in '93 in the little town of Thurston, Oregon, which is just right outside Eugene, Oregon, home of University of Oregon, the Mighty Ducks. It's a mill town. So I grew up in the timber industry, but as an only child with a single mother, it was just a lot of latchkey type of, I was really self-involved from an early age, didn't really have trouble making friends, but I was always, like if there was, I don't even know if they still do this, but when they hand out an award at the end of the year, like who's the biggest goofball, I think I got the loudest or the most memorable laugh. So I think I was having a good time most of the time. I was a tech theater major. I went to the University of Oregon and studied set design, production design, things of that nature. Stagecraft, yeah. And then I joined the service. I went away for about 7 years with the Navy as a medic, and was a medic for even when I was out of the service. I was an X-ray tech, so I did that for about 10 years. And the thing is with the Johnson men is that Moss does not settle in on us at all. We are constantly rolling, and so every 5 years it was a new career, a new relationship every 5 years. And so I'm not getting any younger. So I think I've settled down. Pretty sure I've settled down here in Port Orchard, and got a good woman taking a nap downstairs. And so, yeah, I have good memories of growing up that way. But certainly the paranormal was always influenced to me. And that's what I get into this audiobook, which I put out last week, actually last Saturday, called the Al Moon Lab. And it talks in the beginning about wandering into a late night matinee of Close Encounters and seeing Richard Dreyfuss sitting at a kitchen table, building Devil's Tower with his mashed potatoes, saying, "This means something." Now, as a 6-year-old boy or 7 years old at the most, seeing a grown man have a mental breakdown, building something and saying this means something, when to a child it means absolutely nothing. It means that you're playing with your food. I never left that quote. And so that was always in the back of my mind. It's like, I have to find a way to live in a place where there is either a ton of adrenaline rush going on, which was probably why I chose to be a corpsman or a medic in the service. But then there was this, I needed an open-ended mystery. And that's when Bigfoot came in, and I hadn't let go. And I think that came in about 2008 when I found a track with my son near the high school, oddly enough, which is kind of interesting that we're back there. But it looked like a faked, well, it really just looked like a Bigfoot track walking into the briars. My son found it. He's got a really good eye. Children have a really good eye for the paranormal. And they don't get enough credit for their discoveries. Usually their parents sweep in and say, oh, look what I found. It's just like, no, you didn't find nothing, man. Your kid's eyes found that. They heard that. Mm-hmm. So Jude has always been really good at that. And 2008, found a Bigfoot track. Didn't know if it was a hoax. Thought maybe it was some potheads that were faking something up above the high school. And it turned out, there you go. Crack a fresh one. It's a frothy one at that. It turned out I was going to church with a guy that actually filmed a movie called Sasquatch, which was loosely based on the Bob Gimlin, Roger Patterson film. It was filmed up in the Three Sisters Wilderness in Oregon, in Eastern Oregon. And as soon as I spoke to that dude, he basically set me off in the path that says, okay, it's not can I say bullshit? Huh? Yeah. Are we okay with B bombs and F bombs? Okay. It's not BS. And so I started interviewing what I call extended experiencers, people that have had multiple experiences or live with the phenomena, have a backyard Bigfoot issue. And what I found out quickly is that it is a multi-layered paranormal supernatural event. It starts off as a foundation with Bigfoot because I'm interested in looking into, I'm basically an ambulance chaser for Bigfoot stories. But if I was into UFOs, maybe I would have found Bigfoot as well. If I was in a ghost, maybe I would have found Bigfoot and the UFOs with the ghost. But it's like the Tatooine bar in Star Wars. You got all the guys hanging out in the same place. Heavens knows why. I have some theories. We can talk about those. But from about 2007 to where we are now has been the journey. Wow.
That's cool. Everything you just said is extremely exciting. Finding the footprint is cool. Finding a footprint is always any kind of time you're in the field. And like Jake and I, we've never had a direct sighting, either one of us, but we've experienced strange things that we think are Bigfoot, loud sounds and smells and stick structures, footprints, that type of stuff. And anytime we're out in the field and you can experience some of that, it's so exciting and just weird. And I don't know, I'm rambling. Yeah. It's awesome though. It's awesome.
No, it is super awesome. And if you have an open mind to go down these rabbit holes, in the beginning, it was all, I got to get myself in touch with the likes of Meldrum and his like. So that's where, it's kind of like having a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card or a Mickey Mantle card. Like, I got to hang out with that dude. So I was checking all those boxes because these are the guys on Monster Quest. These are the guys on Unsolved Mysteries. But then these other guys came in that seemed like they were like real legitimate rock stars. And they seemed completely content with their psychedelic theories about where Sasquatch is from or how they pull off these crazy tricks. And I started hanging out with these rock stars, the Bigfoot world, like the guys that, the B-sides, the bootlegs, rather than the actual LP album everyone knows about. And that's when I talk that way. I'm talking about Henry Franzoni. I'm talking about Kirk Sigurdsson. Most of these guys are out of Portland, Oregon, which was really strange for me because they were all Northwestern. Here I am, an hour and a half away. Tom Powell, Ron Moorhead. And they're saying Bigfoot, yeah, it's flesh and blood, but it has these other attributes. And if you are patient, then eventually you will see proof that, yes, it's attached to the supernatural. And I just was patient.
Yeah. It's it is something else to think about. It boggles my mind every time I do it. Let's get down to some nitty gritty here. Let's talk some paranormal.
It's weird. It's weird. Sorry, it's weird the overlap. as far as us investigating sightings of both kinds, people who
Mhm.
have a Sasquatch sighting, and it's on the same road or less than half a mile as a crow flies, where two different people had two different unexplained UFOs lighting
Mhm.
up their backyard like a Christmas tree was one quote. Just weird, strange, no shortage of that overlap.
No, there's a guy named Peter Jampgard, and he's been doing research on grid points, global grid points, ley lines.
Mhm.
And a
Yeah.
lot of time, the intersection point are where these hotspots are. Now, the way you double check whether or not it's a hotspot is do what Henry Franzoni said. Henry said in his book Spirit of Seattle, look for place names, look for names that have place names attached to them that sound odd, like Devil's Creek or Spirit Mountain or Sasquatch Lake, or I think the last crazy one I heard was Baboon Creek out in the Pacific Northwest, and it's had that name since like the early 1900s. Now, that's a Bigfoot hotspot. I know it's a Bigfoot hotspot because we took a report from there. But the point is that you find out where these place names are, and then you go out and do your own investigation. And most of the time, if you wait it out, the phenomena will present itself to you in a very compelling way. One of the first reports I ever took was from a fishing guide, and he told me his multiple encounters. He'd had maybe 3 or 4 by then. Well, at least he told me 3 or 4. But at the end of our encounter, he said, or at the end of him telling me about his encounters, he said the story's far too weird, and I'm not going to tell you the rest of it. He didn't really know me that well. So after I heard him say that, I was like, well, I got to go out for chapter 2. Eventually, he told me about the ability of cloaking. He told me about how they can follow you home. He told me about mimicry. He told me about language. And that's when I met Ron Moorhead, who told me more about language. That's when I met Tom Powell, who said, yeah, they have an incredible sense of humor. It's a little bit like opening a genie in a bottle. Like you may ask for something. It's not going to be what you wanted. And hell, you don't even know that you're asking for something. The woods are basically paying attention to you all the time that you're in them. And a lot of it I attribute to Sasquatch behavior because of the fact that there's tracks, hair, vocalizations, and sightings. And so, Tom Powell has a story in there where he asked for a bone, and they left a bone below the game cam of an emu. Now, he laughs at it for the fact that it was a bone, but it wasn't the bone he was asking for. They brought him an emu bone. So I grew up hearing these stories, and it's a lot like that. It's a lot like what Tom Powell says. It's a lot like having a genie in a bottle. As crazy as that sounds, Sasquatch is, they're a super sensitive, highly sensitive human type animal hybrid of some kind.
With a sense of humor, you say?
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. Sometimes people would call it a sixth sense of humor. One of the stories I tell in the Al Moon Lab is when I was asking for a taxidermied rabbit at this property that we called the Al Moon Lab in Cottage Grove, Oregon. And I was looking for a taxidermied rabbit. And so it was going to go on the terraform of a Bigfoot statue I was making for Ron Moorhead, which is basically the base where the Bigfoot was going to stand. So I was like, oh, what better than a rabbit to put down at the base to kind of symbolize the Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole I'm going down. So we were looking on eBay, and I come out to my trailer because I'm researching and living at this property. And there's a rabbit with a rock sticking out of its head dead in front of my trailer. And it was so fresh when we found it that it had just been killed, right? There was not a bug on it. It was about, July, August time frame. I think it was August. Not a bug on it. The glaze had just went over its eyes. And then as I'm standing there looking over, I said, well, thank God they didn't bring me snake. I hate snakes. So 3 days later, there was a decapitated snake in the exact same spot. And when I found that one, it was still writhing, just swelling up a little bit. Now, everything I'm telling you, I rolled film on, and I rolled a lot of audio, and so did the homeowner, Daryl Adams, and his wife, Cindy. So we recorded everything. We looked at it as an active, unfolding story to the likes that we started to call it a skin twin, which is basically an homage to Skinwalker Ranch. These skin twins, twins of Skinwalker Ranch, are all over the world. Maybe they're at grid lines, maybe they're not. I don't know how it specifically works. Nobody does. But when you can get to one of these places and you can live on them and experience this, and they allow you to look, listen, and you can't really study them. I mean, the lab portion of the story really is that we were the experiment. You know what I mean? Like we weren't studying nothing. I mean, we were allowed to auditorially record and take some after video and after pictures, but it's very difficult to record anything video wise with Sasquatch. And why would that be? Okay. The only reason that would be is that the person's bullshitting and they can't hoax it on camera good enough, or there's something else going on. And there's this weird permission slip with Sasquatch that they're not down on you recording them with a video image. Now, we recorded them auditorily all the time. We collected hair. We sent the hair off to a gal in Canada. And I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but the point is that from 2008 till about 2017, I was warming up for this place that we eventually called the Al Moon Lab, which said, if you can hang out with extended experiencers, people that live in Sasquatch hotspots that literally have the paranormal or a backyard Bigfoot issue, if you can make friends with these people and not be a BFRO douchebag, and you can actually hang out with these people and be independent of any organization, I think you have a good chance of actually living with the phenomena, not only on their terms, but a little bit on your terms. I mean, it was never 50-50. It was never 50-50, but it got to the point where we would ask for things, ask them not to do things. And we can get into that. It was just really impressive.
Now, when you say asking and you say okay, the rabbit shows up, and then you say, hopefully not snakes. Are you just like saying this? Are you thinking this stuff and they're picking up what you're thinking, you think? Or is it something you're saying and they can be in a different dimension right there and hear what you're saying and understand it? How do you think this communication happens? How do they know what you are talking about, thinking about?
Most of the times it has to do with the spoken word. Now, yes, they can deliver stuff to your mind. There's too many people that have told me that are sound, safe individuals. It didn't happen to me. Maybe on one occasion that happened to me, but I really have to be slapped against the face with the supernatural to have it proved to me. And so what I found, at least on this property and with the witnesses I've talked to that I call extended experience of the Sasquatch interaction, it had to do with the spoken word. It had to do with them listening somehow, some way to private conversations. And therefore they would bring you these objects of significance. So what do I mean by that? Gifts of significance or objects of significance based upon things that you have spoken about. So the rabbit, okay, spoke about that. The snake, spoke about that. But before that, let's go back to James Bobo Fay and Tyler Bounds. Okay, both BFRO guys, both shooting Finding Bigfoot near the Three Sisters Wilderness. And Bobo leaves his little Sasquatch necklace on the toe of his boot when he's camping. He sticks it on the toe of his boot, closes a tent. It's a gift for Bigfoot. Well, the cameraman with him, a guy named Tyler Bounds, put his boot outside his tent, and he woke up the next day with a necklace on the toe of his boot. Now, Tyler Bounds doesn't leave a necklace on the toe of his boot. There's only two guys in the woods, one who had a necklace on his boot, one that was given a necklace on his boot. Now, if nobody did it, who did it? Okay, well, Tyler, I think he said he thought a crow did it or a raven. Okay, well, that excuse works one time. But with people that are in Bigfoot hotspots, this happens time and time again. So there was a necklace on the boot. They get a necklace on the boot. Now fast forward a couple months. Some friends go to the exact same area. A kid is looking for a pair of basketball shoes from his father, who doesn't have a lot of money to support him to get him through basketball season. So they're talking about how they need shoes. We arrive at the area after there's a huge Bigfoot moment with this father and son, and we found all sorts of evidence of it. It turns out that in the exact same area where they had gifted these cherry tomatoes, there's a pair of tennis shoes. Right foot, left foot, laces tied, a moss patina. It was like a 1980s style blue suede Converse All-Star. It was the kid's size. So something's going on here to the point where you're just like, okay, there's either some weirdo hanging out here listening to this kid. And mind you, this conversation about basketball shoes was had some miles away from the spot where they eventually camped. So there's something more definitely going on at this point. Now, I'm not privy to the Al Moon lab at this point. I don't know Daryl or Cindy Adams. I'm still 5 or 6 years away from meeting them. But story after story after story keeps piling up about how they give you these gifts of significance that it's almost like we match things up. Like, hey, you have a walking stick. Here's a walking stick kind of like yours that we found, at A, B, or C, and we'll give it to you. They rarely take anything. If they do, they bring it back sometime later. And so as soon as those things started to happen, then I pretty much told the homeowners just like, hey, I think this is about what's to happen. And they said, okay, move in and help us chronicle. The guy just retired. And as soon as Daryl basically said, move in, even though I was working 50 hours a week as a truck driver, I've maybe slept 3 or 4 hours a night because I've been waiting 15 years for my Richard Dreyfuss moment. This means something, right? Mm-hmm. And so we just started rolling audio and camera and collecting. I mean, we have an amazing collection of stuff.
Now, you said you were recording and documenting like the thing with the rabbit and the snakes and whatnot. Is that somewhere online existing where we can watch that stuff, or is it something you're planning on putting together in like a little movie or something?
Yeah. So I have a Patreon page. So people that are listen to my weekly show, Strange Brow Radio, which is a paranormal podcast, and I do a show every Monday, sometimes more, and so they always get first dibs at the Patreon page. And so I don't know if the snake footage in particular is on there. I've certainly aired it at conferences I've done. But since the book just came out, the audiobook has, it's like an audio experience masquerading as an audiobook. That's what I like to think of it as anyway. But we had over 1,200 hours worth of audio. And a lot of that was, maybe 25% of it was usable. Some of it we found out was not what we thought it was. But I would say a good 8 or 9% of those 1,200 hours are interesting sounds. And so this audiobook takes you through the 15 years within 4 hours. And then I immerse the listener into everything that unfolded, especially at the Al Moon Lab. And people can get that at patreon.com/Strange Brow Radio for $3 and download it on SoundCloud. But the pictures I sent you, now I don't know if you got the pictures I sent you, but the snake may not be on there, but there's plenty to talk about if you want to pull any of those up or if you want to play sounds. It's up to you.
I was talking earlier when we first started the show tonight about the some of the glitches we've been experiencing, and
okay,
I'm blaming it on my other computer. I'm everything is on that other computer and I can't get it to turn on.
Okay.
So I apologize to everybody. I really wanted to show people these sounds, but let's look at some of these pictures. This one here is talk to me about what this is.
Yeah, just so you know too, I'm on Google Chrome and I can share sounds through Google Chrome. So if you want to do that, I've got lots of really good audio and we can do that. But I'll tell you about this picture here. This was a recent one, 2019. And this was after the homeowner sold the property. He moved only a few miles down the road, but since the forest behind his house was all open BLM land, he could still go there. A lot of the sounds were coming down the mountain towards his house. So this is a shell after him and one of the neighbor that he took up to the area left out some pretty rocks and shells. And this shell was sitting in a limb. It's about 7 feet off the ground, 6 feet off the ground. I found it. It was right at the entryway of the trailhead. And so it took fingers, in my opinion, to pull this off. It wasn't a bear. I don't think it was a crow. I don't think it was a raven, because the rocks that were left behind too were also stacked about 5 feet up at the trailhead on a limb, on individual limbs, and they're put kind of at the crook of the base of the tree. And it just gets into like, okay, someone's hoaxing, or there's something interesting going on here. Now I know there's something interesting going on because I've seen the feet of Bigfoot. I've been outside at 4 a.m, had one approach me. The homeowner saw a Sasquatch run through the power lines.
Daryl?
Right.
So he had a sighting?
He had a sighting. I had a sighting. The neighbor had a blue-eyed bear. A farmer that we called Wormy had a blue-eyed bear, 7 feet, 8 feet tall, walking on 2 legs, walked towards him as he was going out to the woodshed. Now, he called it a blue-eyed bear because that's what you do in the country. You don't call it a Bigfoot. But there's a lot of UFO stuff that the neighbors were telling us, and a lot of ghost stuff, a hell of a lot of ghost stuff, which was totally new territory for me. I never thought I'd be ghost hunting, but looking for Sasquatch, you're a ghost hunter. Now, you don't know that yet, but you're a ghost hunter. I mean, you're doing the same thing. Actually, you're getting better results if you do it, as a ghost hunter instead of a Bigfooter. Get way better results. But yeah, all that stuff was being reported.
So to talk to us about this, is this part of the ghost experience?
Well, we don't know. That's in a guest bedroom. Now, this was only about 2 months or 3 months after Daryl and Cindy moved in. And so these are chalky white handprints embedded into the plyboard door. And so the reason they're purple is I have a black light on them. Mm-hmm. But they are chalky white, small childlike handprints. And they're very strange. Can't really see it too good in this picture, but you can see there's this weird horizontal gappage between the fingers, and they're gnarled inwards, both of them. And then there's this, there's a lack of a thumb, which is hard to appreciate. Maybe you can see something beginning on the right-hand side that might be indicative of a thumb, but we showed these to a guy by the name of Daryl Sims, who is he used to remove implants with Dr. Roger Lear and interviews abductees and works as a hypnotherapist with abductees. So these match a lot of the phenomena that Daryl is looking into. These handprints that embed themselves either in witnesses or in objects around witnesses. And they're little tiny weird handprints. Now, nobody ever told me about this before in Bigfoot areas, but as soon as I started shopping these around to extended experiencers, I had at least 2 say, yeah, my dog comes back from the woods with these little tiny white handprints all over him. I don't know.
Very, very interesting. Last night, and this is something I did want to bring up anyway, because on your channel, on your Strange Brow Radio show there, there's a show on there about little people. And so I had an experience with which was what I believe was a little person.
Episode 36, Adam. Yes, that was
episode 36. Okay,
yeah.
Excellent, Jake. Good work.
Was
guys,
Sam
check
Allen
that episode out. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. But anyway, I was walking in the woods with a friend of mine, definitely off the beaten path, in the deep woods, and came across these little footprints that were about that big, maybe 3 inches, but they weren't barefoot. There was a little, it looked like a sole of like a flat leather sole with a little heel. And so this thing was wearing some shoes of some sort. And they were just, there wasn't any other footprints besides these along the sandy bank of this meandering stream in the middle of nowhere. Just boom, 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 boom. They'd go and they'd stop where the stream kind of came around a corner. And then I followed them again up on the bank, and then they ended up being on this little island part of the stream. The stream broke around and met back up. And on the island part of that in the stream, there was a couple prints there. And the only thing next to them was a deer, pretty small deer tracks next to it. And it was just completely, it blew my mind. It blew me and my friend Charles, both of our minds were blown. We were like, what the
Did you
heck
get picture? Did you take pictures?
We did. And the thing about that is it's just totally unfortunate. This is back in the day. There was no digital cameras back then. I took the pictures. I went back the next day, right to the same spot with a camera. I bought one of those disposable Kodak things, and took pictures of it. And then threw it in, my drawer with a bunch of other disposable cameras. And by the time I got around to getting the film developed, that particular camera, for whatever reason, almost every single picture came back like grainy, weird. You couldn't really see anything on the camera, which was, weird. I didn't know if it was because the film was too old, but I was like, I don't think it's that. I mean, I don't know.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I rarely talk about the baby footprints, but having seen these before in the snowdrift out in the wild, it looked like a 7-year-old child, maybe younger, walking in the snow down a ravine about 2 inches deep, little horizontal slits and a heel.
Yeah.
Walking down the snow. Okay, so this is a thing. All right, this is absolute. I've got goosebumps talking about it right now.
I'm telling you, I do too, man.
It's a total thing.
Yes, I know it is.
There's some extended experiencers in Cottage Grove, Sean and Lisa Fay. Now you should reach out to them. They have a lot of incredible stuff. One of the things that happened to them is they not only have Bigfoot stuff, but across Row River Road into the creek bed, it snowed one night, and Sean was getting ready to start his shift, so he leaves at dark in the morning. And as he's coming out, he sees these little child footprints coming out of the creek across the main road towards his snowy car. And then all of a sudden, the child footprints, it looked like they wiped the snow off the car, and then they just disappeared.
Yeah.
So it's in a Bigfoot hotspot, little tiny humanoid footprints. Another guy named John Clinton, who was one of the first Bigfooters I met. He's an extended experiencer. There's some little, what's that?
Tricky last name, but yeah.
Yeah. His mother lived in the adjacent trailer to him out in the Three Sisters Wilderness area. And she says this little man came to her door, knocked on the door. He's wearing a little brown outfit, a hooded like a cloak, knocked on the door. And then she said, "Get the hell out of here. I don't know how you even got in past my gate." It slammed the door on this little creepy guy. And she looked through the peephole and he was gone. So when John got home, his mother's waiting, just like, terrified. This little creepy man was out there, and they followed these little footprints around the trampoline, all around their kids' playground equipment, and they just disappeared into the fence. So it's a thing. I don't know. It's hard to. I mean, this gets into the point where you got to decide how you want to play this. I mean, we're all here for a finite amount of years, and with everything that you can have your time invested in, especially now. I mean, I get it. People they're out of work. They're scared shitless to go to the grocery store. They don't know if they should wear a mask. They don't know what the hell's going on. I get it. But these mysteries exist for a reason. Now, the secrets don't like to give up themselves. But since we have such a finite amount of time, somebody's got to look into this stuff. Someone has to tell this story. And I mean, that's what I feel like I'm here to do. I've tried to quit this, maybe a half dozen times. Not earnestly, but for the most part, just like curb it because it's extremely addictive once you know that that's out there. But someone has to tell this story, and the little footprint, shoe print things is a big deal.
So I think it is. Listen to the connection here with this area that where we found these prints. This is a long time ago, obviously, before even digital cameras were around. When I found these prints, and this is before me and Jake were doing the BLB and all this stuff. But since we have been doing the BLB and doing some research, a lot of sightings, a lot of activity in the Bigfoot activity, not Littlefoot activity, has been happening in and around this exact same area, up in, I'd say, like a 3 square mile. up there. Strange things, a lot of Bigfoot stuff, eyewitness accounts,
Mhm.
and a lot of other weird anomalies like lights up in trees,
Mhm.
orbs bouncing around, UFOs appearing out of nowhere, really strange light design showing up on trail cameras, and all sorts of just crazy. Okay, we got the little footprints, lots and lots of Bigfoot activity, howls. Jake heard howls, rocks being thrown at people. You name it. All the stuff, and all this UFO stuff. It's all right in one same area, and that may be one of the
Ley
ley
line.
lines, the intersections, or I don't really know. There aren't any trick names to the area. There's no like this or that or Bigfoot
No,
Mountain.
but a lot of these sacred areas have important government buildings attached to them, or religious, buildings, churches, for example, or Freemasons. They knew where these areas were, and they built on them accordingly, and they geomanced them. They would put sacred objects in them that would hopefully amp up the activity, or they would divert rivers so they could charge them. They knew there was a quartz vein maybe coming down from a valley. One of the things that people mention, of course, is that water and quartz is a conduit for spirit activity. So they knew much more of this, but this is all part of the secret school hidden knowledge stuff. And you have to be inducted into this or born into it to be read into it. You can't be an outsider. You can't just invite yourself into these secret schools. I mean, Whitley Strieber talks about, a little bit of being inducted into these secret schools via his abduction experiences, but they also, exist in places like Bohemian Grove. This is a place that most people still don't even know about, but it's an induction in, for the elite to appreciate these secret schools that have gone on for millennia. Now, they've gone on a lot of times in sacred places, but they also go on out here in Mother Nature. And in the Pacific Northwest, it's abundantly clear to me that there's something to do with the sacredness of old growth trees and experiencing the supernatural. A couple episodes back, I interviewed some guy named Duke, and he saw Sasquatch walk into a tree. Now, he explained that to me as, like he was telling a fishing story. It's an embarrassing fishing story for him. He said he was embarrassed to even admit it, but there was no ambiguity. He said the Sasquatch walked into the tree. It didn't walk behind it. He watched it walk into it. Now, it's not the first time I've heard that story. I've heard that from a number of people. And you hear a lot about wood knocks and wood sounds, wood slaps, all these sounds. I'm not so sure that doesn't have something to do with how Sasquatch interacts with Mother Nature, be it a boulder, be it a tree, be it some kind of, interface with a telluric field. So you got to be into quantum physics to a level that most Bigfooters aren't well read in. I'm not. Ron Moorhead, of course, wrote the book Quantum Bigfoot. And he's actually pretty well respected in the Bigfoot world because no one's been able to debunk his sounds.
Yeah, he's got a lot to say. Real cool cat. He's easy to listen to. The tone of his voice makes you go right in.
Yeah,
I like how he talks about mind speak being quantum entanglement, where that whole thing's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Walking into trees and all that stuff. I mean, it doesn't that stuff. You hear all this different types of things and theories and things people say they saw in cloaking and whatever. And like I said earlier in the show, none of the stuff really, it all blows my mind, but I'm not surprised by any of it. And I can go with any of it. It's all like, okay, there's all this stuff happening. We know that it's happening, but we can't prove it. That means that there's something else going on. Because if it was just a normal flesh and blood something, it would have been found and it would have been proven, and the world would know that it's for certain by now. There's no
Right.
way.
You want me to
No
play
way.
a sound for you that maybe speaks to what we're talking about?
There's nothing more that I would enjoy, Jake. What do you think?
Okay. So at the Al Moon Lab, we'd be recording night and day. Mainly, a lot of the action would happen at night, but it would happen also broad daylight. I mean, you turn your back, and there would be some kind of interaction, supernatural interaction. A lot of weird hit, snap, pop, slap sounds that were recorded that were just bonkers. They're also very subtle, and you could pass them off to be a bird strike to a chipmunk throwing an acorn. I got you there. Okay. That stuff happens. It happened there. We watched it happen. We knew it happened, but it doesn't account for the sounds I'm going to play you, including the EVP sounds. And so let me hit share screen here. And so we're just talking about the idea of something basically appearing out of a tree or going into a tree, or some kind of physical manifestation going into an object. Shouldn't happen. I mean, maybe Tibetan monks would talk this way, but you're not going to hear, good old boys sitting around having a PBR talking about Bigfoot disappearing in trees. So, or any of these guys on Animal Planet. So let me hit share screen here. I've never worked with StreamYard, so bear with me. Okay, your entire screen. Okay, let's hit share. Okay, now can you see my screen?
I can, and then I think I just have to do that.
Okay. Whoa, now we're getting
Pink Floyd.
Wow. Okay. So let's see here. Now I'm going to shrink this down. Okay. Can you see my screen still?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to attempt to play this sound here. Now, if this sound works, I'll cue it up for you.
Okay.
One of the main sounds that we would record came from beyond the apple orchard, past the power lines towards the Willamette National Forest. So on one occasion, we found that the T-post in Daryl's backyard, two of them had been bent down about 3/4 of the way up, like a top ramen noodle, just kind of wah. Now, T-post is solid forged steel, very difficult to do. By then, I'd already engaged a couple of extended experiencers about this place. And one of the gals said, you probably have teenagers there that are misbehaving. You need to treat them like they're teenagers misbehaving and tell them to knock the crap off. So I'd never had a one-on-one, basically monitoring the activity of supposed juvenile or teenage Sasquatches before. By then, I hadn't even seen anything. But I went out there and I was just like, hey, these guys aren't going to want you around. I'm not going to be able to hang out with you if you keep on, causing property damage. So a couple days later, the T-posts were bent back straight. And so in and around that same window, we also had the parabolic microphone recording the audio. So what you're going to hear is near the T-post in the apple orchard, and you're going to hear this really quick but loud audible pop sound. It's going to sound like a baseball bat hitting on wood. And then you're going to hear something land. And then it's going to walk. It's actually going to stomp. So if you have bass or some way to amp up the bass on your computer, amp that up. And then it's going to verbalize and say something and scream kind of and hit the fence. So it's a pretty impressive clip that we call Stomp, Hit, Talk, Sniff. So let's play that one.
Yeah.
Let's see if it works.
Do you hear something, Tobe? I don't.
Okay, so you didn't hear that.
No. Did Jake, did you hear that?
It was radio silence over here.
I don't know if there's something you have to do. I think if there's like an enable audio or something in the share screen.
Allow.
Allow, yeah. If
allow the microphone. I believe there's an allow.
When you go to share screen, there's something I could see if I can look it up there.
Let's see here. Share screen.
There it is.
Screen sharing was canceled. Okay. Well, I don't want to belabor the moment. Like I said, I've never worked with this program, but
I would be if you can mess with it for a little bit.
Okay.
I'm interested. I want to hear this. If we take a couple times while you're doing that,
Okay.
while you're messing around, just keep going on, and I'm just going to talk to Jake a little bit. Jake, what do you think, man? This is going pretty good, huh?
Jeez Louise, I can't get, oh man, I can't get over the serendipitous cut from the same cloth kind of aspects and how we kind of back into these situations or in this case, our guest here. And,
okay. Now I see it.
Oh, you got it.
I think
it's great. It's great.
Okay.
We're all having a good time.
All right, let's try this though. All right, so without further ado, let me bring this down.
I'll add this again.
Okay, let's try it again. Tell me, give me the thumbs up here and let me know first off. I'm going to hit play now. You hear it?
No.
No, you don't?
Do not.
Oh boy. Okay, well, I hit share audio, so I think we should probably just describe the moment and move on because I don't think I'm going to be able to help you with that one.
No, I hear you. And my apologies too. I wanted to have some of the sounds you sent me queued up and ready to go, but unfortunately that did not happen.
That's okay.
Very interesting stuff. Where are there any places people can go and find these sounds online anywhere?
Right. So yeah, I've done Midnight FM with Tim Weisenberg. I think it's a new show that we just did last week, Midnight FM. I think there was another one that we did on Darkness Radio. So if you type in the Al Moon Lab and Google, you'll find some old show that I've done. But if you want to hear it all for $3, you can get a hold of the book at Patreon. You don't have to subscribe. You can just pay $3 and then unsubscribe Patreon, download. There's a bunch of other stuff on there. But it's a 4-hour book, 4.5 hour actually. And there's quite a bit of audio in there, including these sounds.
Tell me how to get to it on Patreon. What I've never done that before. I should probably be doing this type of stuff. What do you do?
Yeah. So you go to patreon.com/Strange Brow Radio. And once you're in there, you subscribe for $3 and then you watch as much as you want, including download my book on SoundCloud. And then as soon as you're done, if you don't want to stay a member for $3, then you unsubscribe and you're on your way.
Okay, that's cool. So do I have this right here? Patreon.com/Strange Brow Radio. That's what you do. You just type that in right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Done.
Thank you.
Done. That's a cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
Something I can $3. I'm down with that. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
This show is sponsored by nobody. But that was a funny joke that I just made up. Stupid joke. Sorry, Tobe. This part of the show, we do something called the Rapids, bud. This is Mountain Stream, and you are about to go down the rapids, the narrows, the most treacherous part of Mountain Stream, where we are going to be asking you 10 random questions, and we are going to be timing you, and you have to answer them however you want.
Okay.
This is not too serious, but it is
a lot of fun. But it is a competition, and the faster you get through the answers, boom, 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 boom. Everybody's rooting for you.
Street cred. Okay.
Street cred on Mountain Stream, my man.
Jake, are we there? Are we there already?
We're there we're gonna send them down the rapids. Jake, are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready, Adam.
Tobe, are you ready, bud?
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm gonna say 3, 2, 1, go, and then I'm gonna hit the timer start. You guys, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Have you ever eaten quail?
Never.
What was the first type of beer you ever had?
Coors Light.
Close Encounters or E.T.?
Close Encounters.
Who's your favorite Muppet?
Kermit.
Have you ever been to the Hoover Dam?
Yes.
Have you ever had poison ivy?
Yes.
Is Bigfoot real? Is Bigfoot real?
Bigfoot is real.
Do you love cilantro?
Love it.
Have you ever owned a lava lamp?
Never.
Is 1776 the answer to 1984?
Yes, it is, Alex.
That's it. Close. All
40,
right.
40, 45. That's
Wow.
really
It's
good.
respectable.
We're going to have to send that into our producers and find out how you stacked up against the competition.
Okay.
From other people there.
Those some good answers.
But man, Tobe, you did really good. That was really fun. The answers, some of them were surprising and some of them were just spot on. I loved it. Have you ever been to the Hoover Dam? Talk to us about the Hoover Dam quickly.
Oh, the Hoover Dam is quite a sight. I was in a 1985 T-top cabriolet with a mannequin leg sticking out the back, and I was drove over the Hoover Dam, and I think it was 90 degrees out in July. Awesome moment, doing a road trip from Pensacola, Florida to Whidbey Island, Washington. Stayed the night at Reno. Good times.
Excellent.
Wow.
Now, earlier in the show, you were talking about Dreyfus, and I already knew the answer to question number 3, Close Encounters or ET. That was awesome. You love cilantro. I love cilantro. Now, my mother doesn't like cilantro at all because in one of her pregnancies, I think it was from my younger sister, Sarah, she, for some reason, you know how women's hormones change and their tastes change and everything. She had a bunch of cilantro or something. It changed her mind on it. She can't stand the stuff. So that's pretty interesting. You did really good. You really went through the rapids really nicely. You paddled both sides, navigated very well. That's amazing.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm okay. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, Adam. The question that really stumped him was the Muppet one. You know, he couldn't remember the name of the character, so he went with crap, Kermit.
I know. Wasn't
right? But who are you thinking of? Was it the guys up in the rafters, or was it the Swedish chef, or the scientist Beaker?
I like Gonzo. I had Gonzo action figure when I was a kid. So I think the purple Gonzo nose, I loved the whole thing. I kind of got a big nose. So for me, it was tried and true.
Sure.
I've taken a real liking to Rizzo.
Oh, Rizzo. Yeah.
Oh my
he
God.
was the little mouse.
The rat. Yeah. Hilarious. That thing is so funny. Muppets from Space. You ever seen that one?
Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah. Dabney Coleman, I think he was in Muppets Take Manhattan.
Yeah.
Funny stuff.
Watching, waiting.
Oh, I'm just jalapenos. What was your scariest encounter? If you can tell us, if it's not too personal, Tobe, what's like the scariest thing that has ever happened to you, if you can remember? It's not too personal.
Oh no, I don't mind that. The scariest thing that happened to me was I had something run up behind me in broad daylight. It really caught me off guard. I was in an extended experiencer area in a place called Vida, Oregon, and I was walking an open trail, and there was a bisected mole. It had been pinched in half and set in the trail near an X structure in a Bigfoot hotspot. So I was watching this thing bleed out. There was no other predation. It looked like something had walked up to the mole, pinched it in half, and set it in the middle of the trail. So I bent over to take a picture, and then I hear an elephant on 2 legs come running up behind me. And I thought for sure it was one of these extended experiencers that I'd been working with, and they were just playing a prank or whatever. And I turned around. It was 12 noon, summer day, nothing there. It stopped maybe 12 inches from me. So it was either ghost, or it was a Bigfoot, or it was a Bigfoot ghost. I don't know, but those things continued to happen. They happened at the Al Moon Lab on, well, at least one other occasion that comes to mind. And we couldn't catch it on FLIR. We were so dumbfounded by it all that I think I had my FLIR just sitting in my hand as I was, watching these invisible feet run from us.
Doesn't your channel, like, it starts out with the Owl Moon Lab, like those knee prints, right? Correct, with the hair sample and stuff. Isn't that kind of the genesis, sort of?
It is, yeah. So the story starts above Daryl's property when we went on an elk hunt, and he was also into Bigfoot, and he thought he knew where some giant X structures were, which I'd never really paid attention to that. There's a lot of poison oak up in that neck of the woods, and we talked about that, which I absolutely had poison ivy and poison oak. So not a fan, and these X structures were in a poison oak area, so I wasn't really looking forward to it, but I saw what looked like someone had dribbled a basketball on the side of the road. There were 2 round pockets in the clay mud, and they're about 14 inches apart. It was real close to the gravel road, though. And so I said, Daryl, back up, and we started rolling camera, and those ended up being what we call the Al Moon impressions. And so before we cast them, before we took them, we cast them all and fix it all plaster. We didn't have any hydrocal with us, which would have been the better choice, but it's what we had. And we collected the hair, sent it up to Canada to a gal named Cindy Dosen, who runs the Hominid Enigma Project. And she's a veterinarian, and she looked at the hairs microscopically and said, hey, these hairs are not anything in the data bank that science is going to accept as explainable. They're human-like, but they're not human, and she explains all the reasons in her report why that is. And then we had a sonographer and a orthopedic surgeon look at the knee impressions and say that they're human-type knee impressions of something in excess of 1,000 pounds.
Are these the knee impressions you're speaking of right here?
They are. I mean, it kind of looks like, a breast surgery gone wrong, and Dolly Parton maybe landed in the mud, and this is what we walked away with. But those are knee impressions. On closer inspection, especially on the right-hand side there, you can see the patella. You can see hair flow. In fact, you can almost see the patella even just floating above it with this drone point of view, which is around the 5 o'clock angle, spreading out. And they actually still had hair, coming out of the plaster impressions that you can still look at to this day. They're down in my garage. And now we have a guy named Dr. Robert Alley taking a look at these, and we'll see what becomes of them. But there's a report out. We call it the Dragoo Scott Taylor report. And Scott Taylor's a Boeing engineer. He's the one that did the weight measurements on how big you would have to be in order to make an impression like that. And he came back as an engineer and said, over 1,000 pounds. And then Joe Dragoo is a sonographer from Harborview Medical in Seattle. And he came and looked at him, did a physical examination, and wrote a pretty awesome 5-page medical report about it.
What's Dr. Alley in? What makes him a doctor?
So he's I think he is a surgeon. He has written 2 Bigfoot books. I think one's called Rainforest Sasquatch or Rainforest Bigfoot. He's been around a while. Really cool dude. He just moved out this way, got a hold of me after we ended up selling some sounds to that Expedition Bigfoot show that was on Travel Channel.
Yeah.
And that Dr. Mayer, the gal that she was eliciting Bigfoot sounds in the show. Well, she plays a Bigfoot sound that we recorded. It's it's a very primal Bigfoot yell.
I've heard that. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she introduced me to this Robert Alley, and he as soon as the Corona stuff kicked in, we couldn't get him out to take a look at it, but I think we're okay to do it now. Things are kind of calming down Corona-wise out in Washington.
Things seem to be here too. I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse. I've said it before, but things here, they're still, scary and weird. But I think it's, everyone's being smart. A lot of people are being smart about this whole thing, and that's why things are getting better. And we went to the store today. I had to go to the store. I had to get more poison ivy medication, and no way around it. No way around it, right, Jake?
Yeah,
he knows how bad I get it, and I got it. I got it really bad at both.
Oh,
and so Jake's not allergic to this stuff, by the way. He's going to be
really
tomorrow putting in a fence, and he can dig. He can hold right onto it, do whatever. I got this from the roots of it. The plants aren't even growing, so you can't see what you're dealing with, which makes it even more evil. Kind of like Corona, but I went to the grocery store for the first time today. Went to a Walgreens and got some couple of junk food items. Tobe, got some queso and some cookies and some crap we haven't had in a couple months. So it was fun, but scary. but things are getting a little bit better, and that's a good sign. Let's talk about this right here. I'm interested in this. This is like, where did this happen? Is this up near Daryl's as well?
Right. So where we had the last photo of the shell, it's in the same research area, and that is about I think that's the size 17 print that we got about three weeks ago. I found it alone when I was down there. The thing about these prints that you can't appreciate is the fact that it's at a 90-degree angle impacted into the forest litter, pine needles mainly, right?
Yeah.
And so what's impressive, to use that old pun, is that when you're stepping into the foresty, pine needly area, as you impact the earth, just like you would step on a sponge, you would make an impression, a slope. This is not that. This is a 90-degree punch down into. It's very difficult to make a cut like this, and that's what you're looking at is a cut, especially in the toe. So it's the biggest track that we found out there that I know of, size 17. Now, 2 weeks before that, a guy that didn't believe in any of this paranormal stuff was down there with a infrared scope that didn't record. And he had his mind blown. He saw a red orb come out about 80 feet off of the deck over the place where that print was, and little white sparks of light start to flicker in the tree line. Now, Daryl was already read into the weirdness of this all because he'd lived the Al Moon lab with me. And he's like, that red light, that's not a good sign. And Mark is just like, what are you talking about, man? So as he's panning with his IR lens, he sees a 9-foot tall Sasquatch, according to Mark, come really close to where they were in their lawn chairs up on the skid road. According to Daryl, he said he had a real tough time holding it together. He immediately hopped out of his lawn chair, got in his pickup truck, and kind of went fetal position. And he's a big dude. Daryl was shaken up by this as well. And that's where the print was. Now, was it there the day that he had a sighting? I don't know. I live in Washington. That's about a 6-hour drive for me. So you go down there and you find crazy stuff, including, if you have objects hidden, they'll find the objects and they'll set them in these gifting areas where you have peanut butter waiting. We've never left food until recently, but now they leave food all the time. And if you leave a game cam out, which this Mark guy did, you'll see that the objects have been taken and there is no clue what did it. And Les Stroud alluded to that in his Survivor Man Bigfoot. I mean, he had apples in the tree. Yeah. The apples were gone. It's just like, here, now you see it, now you don't.
That's, you hear this stuff, but there are two different trail cam or game cam images that were captured that I believe are authentic. And one of them belongs to the BLB, which is me and Jake, a friend of ours, Vinny Cangelosi, and really the same area where we had the little people prints up there. Had a game cam up in the woods, and we have an image. I don't have it right handy because it's not on my BLB computer, which is crashed over there. But
you shared it on Facebook.
It's a silhouette of image of something that looked to us like something ripped the game cam off the tree, and then there's a blurry. You can see the forest is blurry, and that can only happen if the camera itself is moving.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next picture is like it twisted it around and it took a selfie of itself. And but you can't see anything in, and I really tried. I put it through Photoshop pretty heavily and tried to get some more definition out of it and couldn't.
Right.
You can see the hair. You can see the hairline. It looks like a silhouette up to about breast. You can see like a little bit of the shoulder and some hairs kind of over on the side, matted maybe on the side. Just which we think that's a Bigfoot on a trail cam. And then also there's the one from Vermont where the gentleman had a Bigfoot next to an apple tree again. Noticed that there was a bunch of apples missing out of the middle part of the tree. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It had like vitiligo, maybe possibly that the Sasquatch did. It had like white splotches.
Oh yeah.
And I think it maybe was a mother with like a little baby, and you can kind of see like little teeny little fingers. If you look, it looks like you can see little fingers, and you're like, that's carrying a baby. And so the trail cam thing, yeah, maybe it's rare, but I believe they do get they mess up. Something happens. I don't know if it's spontaneity or they get caught up in the moment. Something happens, and we have a picture which I'm certain is a Bigfoot, and so does the guy in Vermont. So I don't know. Lots to think about there.
You might have a picture there of a game cam image of a white light that I sent you. I don't know if you have that handy, but
I do.
This is one of the examples here. So Daryl attempted to hang his game cam. So this is pointed towards the old Skid Road. Now it's a private driveway, and it's pointing towards the tree line where we would have, heavy footfall. We'd see blackberries come from my camper underneath the awning, and they would be dropped like cookie crumbs out to the tree line. We'd find prints out there, knuckle prints, things like that. Now, this is one of the images here we don't quite know what to do with because it looks like a truck light to me. But we did everything we could in order to, I don't know, somehow see this truck light better, to see if there is an object attached to it. It's a little bit too high for the average, F-150, and the light beams down. You're only seeing one of the three shots we had. It actually approaches from the left as this, iridescent light in black and white, and it approaches and then it just disappears into the frame you're looking at. So Daryl would end up seeing UFOs with his own naked eye. So would I. One of the best ones he ever caught was of the Tic Tac UFO stuff, right? That the USS Nimitz talks a lot about. Everyone's heard about Disclosure, USS Nimitz. He caught video of this broad daylight in the afternoon flying over his house. And he would also go on to film orbs, dropping off orbs into the forest. One of the farmers would talk about this swinging drone chandelier that would follow him around the trees. And he goes, if I try to hide from it, the thing will go around the corner to find me. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot of UFO stuff going on in general. Now, if you're in a Bigfoot hotspot, I guarantee you the UFO stuff is probably picked up along with everything else. I think anytime we're in a liminal state in the world, just like with coronavirus, these liminal states also invite in the paranormal, supernatural activity. If you're going through a big life transition, like say you're going through a death or a divorce or a marriage, if you're in between these private liminal states, these extended experiencers talk about activity seeming to amp up. If you're writing about the paranormal, it seems to amp up activity, almost as though they're paying attention to you talking about them. So these liminal states, John Keel would talk about in the Mothman Prophecies. So maybe people agree with that. I don't know.
Do you ever fear your private life being overrun by paranormal activity? Like you're into it so much that it's just going to start taking over your world?
Yeah, I mean, I live in a haunted house. There's a lot of stuff that's always happened on this property. It's a lot of Bigfoot stuff, but it presents itself like the trickster phenomena. So my girlfriend is a long-term witness. She was a BFRO investigator. So we're already immersed into it. However, you have to detach yourself from the paranormal because it doesn't have any limits. Like the ultimate price is to lose everything, to immerse yourself solely into going into the paranormal world supernaturally. Either I don't think that most people are geared up to even go into it slightly. Now, I don't think most people can take the red pill. I don't even think they can take a tiny little piece of the red pill.
Pink pill.
That's right. So I think it's a tough one to do 24/7, and you have to find other ways. You can't ignore family. You can't ignore your responsibilities,
No.
because the paranormal is begging you. It's begging you, and it is trying to lure you into its world so deep sometimes that it seems worth it. And I always make the analogy to the Lord of the Rings, right? I mean, the ring is the burden, and it is a burden to have this kind of power. Now, to be inducted into these hidden mystery schools is a burden, because now you know something your neighbor doesn't know, and they're never going to believe you. So you can't go around sharing it. And you always want to know more. You always want to go deeper. There's no finale to it. So you got to be careful.
Very well said. I appreciate that, because a lot of people might need to hear something like that. Me and Jake don't, we love it. We enjoy it. But I can turn it off and go work in my vegetable garden and go golf with my girlfriend and have a life and enjoy the crap out of it.
But Adam, now wait a second. You're still thinking about it though, privately, aren't you?
Privately?
Yeah, I mean, as you're doing these other things,
no.
Is it always in the back of your head?
No, not even close. Not even close. Not even remotely close.
Not even you, Jake?
Well, I mean, yeah, well, to an extent, yeah, you're working, you got to do the 9 to 5 stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. It depends on what we're talking about. If it's just a Sasquatch, or then maybe, but the paranormal, I don't know, the ghost and or unexplained lights, like a celestial body, a third of the size of the full moon, hanging out, not doing anything for 20 minutes, and just and then seeing like this little light come out from underneath it and head toward Adam's house. As I'm driving to Adam's house, I see this light in the sky, and turns out there's another person coming from a different town 10 miles away. We are all going to Adam's house, and this guy's working, but he sees the same light. We're both driving at the same time. We don't know, and so when I show up, I think, I don't know what's going on. I can't explain the light in the sky, but this other light, as I'm pulling close to Adam's house, it looks like a drone with like a batteries not included kind of light underneath. That's what I'm imagining. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, so I get a little bit calmed down, like, oh, Adam's just flying a drone. He must have, he must have attached a light to it, and I don't know, maybe I missaw something. Maybe I didn't see it come out of that other light as I'm driving down here, just yards away from the house. And come to find out, the other guy who's working on a propane heater for Adam to get it, like this little kerosene furnace, was it? Or propane furnace?
Propane heater.
He's getting out there. And I'm like, hey, you guys, did you see that light out there? It's really crazy and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, you saw it too? I thought I was going crazy over here because, I see the moon. Moon's over here. And then there's something a third of the size of the moon. And so a planet, planets are really bright in the celestial skies, but they're only like a 10th or a 15th the size of the moon, right. But this is something too big and too weird. So then all three of us came out. We looked at it. What the heck is that? We go back in, we come to check 20 minutes later, it's not there. But still, it's so weird. And we're in the middle of nowhere. We're up in the sticks, like this light is just hanging in this hot spot, quote unquote, above the farm. Just what is that thing?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Tobe, what do you think the connection is? I've got a little bit better understanding just from the discussion this evening that maybe it is a cross mark of ley lines, just a general hotbed for paranormal activity, related, unrelated. But the thing that Bigfoot is related to lights or some kind of electricity or UFO or something like that they're found in the same times in the same areas a lot. Mm-hmm. What the heck do you think that is that a direct relation? Is it something to do with the Bigfoot, or is it just something different? Is it just another different paranormal thing happening because that same spot is a hotbed of activity.
Well, it could be a little bit of everything. I think sometimes it has to do with family lines, because if a family line genetically has been read in long ago, eons ago, based upon their genetic code, and that gets into whether or not somebody's had a great grandfather that's an abductee. Abductees, people that experience UFO stuff, report seeing all of this phenomena, including UFOs, including poltergeist and cryptids. It all goes together. Linda Moulton Howe would talk about how she would talk to people that were experiencers, and they would see Sasquatch on board craft with them, as though they were taken along for the ride along with humans. So I think some of it has to do with your family line, but I think a lot of it has to do with, in my case, seeking it out. And if you seek it out long enough, eventually they're going to be something that some experience that happens that you're either going to walk away from or walk towards. And so for me, I mean, just going back to the thing that was coming at me on two legs that was, invisible. Had I said, okay, I don't want any part of this, it upsets my worldview, that I'm not looking for a ghost, I'm looking for a giant relic hominid. And I've had, what I call apers, people that are, invested in the Gigantopithecus theory, say if this turns out to be a supernatural answer, I'm not interested in that. I'm done.
Yeah.
I always think, well, why the hell would you be done? I mean, it's way cooler than what you thought it was, and I've had that conversation before with people and said, you're wrong about this all along. It's way cooler than you thought. So, but that's not, that doesn't compute with a lot of people.
It's not that their brains aren't firing on the same cylinders as ours at all.
That's not an extinct species like the thylacine or what's that called?
Yeah, the Tasmanian tiger.
Yeah.
Tiger. Which I think exists. I talked to a guy named Neil Waters who lives in Australia, and he's another great guest. Neil Waters, he hunts thylacines, experiencers, people that have seen them, and has incredible footage of them, and I think they're absolutely amazing. Like, the thylacine does not get enough credit for being one hell of a weird looking critter, but it's got a face like an alligator and it's got a backside like a cat. It's an incredible critter.
It is. It's cool. It's right up there with the duck-billed platypus, if you ask me.
That's right.
I have to share just a little experience I had. When you were talking about the thing coming up behind you, it sounded like a two-legged elephant, but there was nothing there. This is just a little story. It's really brief. Completely. Is it related? Maybe. Anyway, there's a golf course, a local golf course called the High Peaks Golf Course. It's only 9-hole golf course, about 40 minutes from us up north. And it doesn't get a whole lot of traffic. It's in this beautiful area. You just got great views of all the high peaks in the Adirondacks, and it's really amazing. We were golfing there one evening after work, getting in 9 holes, and it was on the 7th hole green. I was there with 2 other friends, and we're putting out, and this sound came right over the top of our heads. It sounded like some kind of like air cavitation happening, like almost like it sounded like a major wing cutting through the air. It was like loud right above our heads. Like, I went like this and looked, and there's nothing there at all. There's nothing there. And all 3 of us were just like looking around like, did you hear that? And I'm like, yeah, I definitely heard that. You saw me go like this. And it was just it was a calm, really nice, beautiful, sunny afternoon, evening. It was good. It was, the sun would be going down in maybe like another hour or so. It was beautifully calm. It was beautiful. And then this noise just happens right over the top of our heads. And just strange. So I can feel for you a little bit with that unexplainable noise coming. You look and there's nothing there, kind of thing. It blows your mind. It freaked me out. What do you think about that? Do you have any thoughts on that, Tobe?
No, it's a great story, and I've heard a couple of stories about people that have seen prehistoric critters in the air in southern Oregon. A guy named Kevin Beagle saw a what would you call it? A pterodactyl?
Pterodactyl.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Thunderbird.
he stands by that story. He heard the leathery wings flap. I think it was a clear day. People talk about seeing things that don't belong in the sky beyond just UFO phenomena, and some of it has to do with prehistoric critters. I mean, what the hell is the Mothman? The Mothman is such a weird. It's physically, it looks incapable of flight by witness description. It doesn't seem like it should fly, but yet they describe seeing the musculature. They hear the wind flapping. It's a harbinger of some kind. It seems to come around when there is an event about to, unfold, hence the bridge that collapsed. And I think there's even some footage right before the tsunami in the Ring of Fire, or during the Ring of Fire, of a Mothman type figure flying around. So is that related to what you saw, what you heard? I don't know. How was your game? I guess if you had a really shitty game, maybe that was indicative of phenomena presenting itself.
Tobe, I always have a shitty game.
Okay, so there you go.
But I love it. I just love it. Golf to me is, I just love being out on the course and just having fun and getting a chance to. When I'm golfing, I really don't think about anything but the golf game and talking to your friends about whatever's going on. It's just such a release from the daily grind. But
if you went out on a blind date or go to meet your mother-in-law and there's a Mothman flying over you, you know what's coming your way. I mean, you should just prepare for a shitstorm because it's presented itself.
Yeah, I'll make sure that I'll look out for that. Hey guys, this has been awesome. I just want to say quickly, Tobe, I noticed this on Facebook. What's this all about? Is this like a coffee press website thing? You can go get stuff. Where do you link up with this stuff?
What's going on? So hey, anything that I'm doing, you can go to strangebrowradio.com. BRAU is how you spell brow. That's the German word for brew house, and that's where we started, in a bar. So strangebrowradio.com, just like you see here. And you don't have to put the umlaut over the A. You can just type in BRAU, strangebrowradio.com. And everything I'm doing is up on Strange Brow. The audiobook, $3. We're also doing something called Strange Strolls, which is a choose your own adventure where you can send me on an adventure and then I'll film it all in HD for 30 minutes. That's up there. We call those Strange Strolls. And then we do webinars, quarantine webinars. I think there's about 4 webinars on there. We got one on elongated skulls with Marcia K. Moore from Ancient Aliens and Brian Forrester. We have some stuff up there. So all the episodes, you can listen from there, anything we've done. I think we've done 75. So strangebrowradio.com.
That's fun. That's fun. Fun stuff. All of it's fun. I'm really glad you gave us a chance to talk to you. I'm glad you responded the way you did for me reaching out. I mean, I see this guy on Amazon Video, and I'm like, I'm going to try to get a hold of him and see if he wants to have a chat. Yeah, and here we are. Here we are doing it. So
yeah, Jake, what do you got? BLB.
Well, I mean, I just looked over here at one question from the chat. BLB Kathy wants to know what you mean by family lines. I don't know if we can.
Sure. I think you get tagged in a sense. You can get marked by the supernatural. Now, you can also get marked by family members into the supernatural by way of curse. I believe in that as well. Family curses of some kind where you have been marked by, say, a great-grandfather that has basically put some kind of mark on you for the good or for the bad, generally for the bad. But there's also the supernatural mark that goes upon family lines from witnesses. And why that happens, I don't know, but it's a thing. And it seems to be more active on the mother's side.
Wow. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. That's how it, I mean, I'm hoping I'm not marked, but most of the spirituality I have is definitely from my mom. As Jake will tell anybody.
Yeah, I think the same way. Yeah, I think the same way.
Yeah. What about anybody else out there? I'm now delving into a little bit of the chat and seeing what's going on here. I mean, a lot of times with the Mountain Stream show, Jake and I will focus on the guest more than anything, and try to make that the main thing. But now it's like looking into the, does anybody have any questions for our guest here?
Yeah, we didn't even do that. I was looking over and I saw that you had like 91 videos and there are 73 episodes. You've got you've got almost 19,000 views, over 102 hours of content. And I
didn't even know this.
I'm a little old school, so I had to write down the mileage of each episode, your 91 episodes, and then I had to make 9 different piles. And
oh my God.
to get I wanted to see how much hours of content, and I mean that's a real labor of love that you put into it. Adam and I know, and we appreciate the amount of labor and love you put into each, because you don't want to just go out in public looking like a hobo, as my grandma would say. You want to dress it up nice and give people something. You're concerned about the content.
You try not to go out half unzipped, So
yeah, which is
sometimes I do.
It's appreciated.
Thank you.
I noticed when I was looking through some of the episodes and just going through, I think it's cool that on your YouTube channel you'll see this, and that just that's the thumbnail that's happening during the show, and that's really cool. But a lot of them seem like they're 1 hour and 8 minutes. It's like they all. Did you notice that, Tobe, at all? That
no.
They're a minute. That's the length of a lot of them. And it's just kind of random to me. It was just like, whoa, what's going on with that? Because it stands right out when you're looking at it.
Maybe I believe in numerology.
Is that intentional?
Episode 7, episode 66 is 1:08. 56 is almost 1:08. Yeah, there's a lot of 1:07, 1:08s on here. If I'm doing the math.
Why the name the Al Moon Lab? Someone posted here too.
That's our buddy.
Yeah. Okay.
Our father, Andy, gone fishing.
Dad.
Should I answer him?
Absolutely. Look at, he's got a BLB hat on. Of course you should answer him. He's top priority.
So the Al Moon Lab happened this way. When the knees were found, it was underneath a full moon on Good Friday, March 30th, 2018. And the full moon was also called the owl moon. And so the lab portion started once I started to build a Bigfoot in Daryl's shop. And they said, boy, this looks like Frankenstein's laboratory. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So that's how it got its name, the Al Moon Lab.
Cool.
Awesome.
Very cool story. Makes total sense. It sounds like something me and Jake would come up with.
We do that organic naming all the time. Absolutely. The time.
We had at one point I had a recording studio in my basement, and we called that the lab.
Hey, let me mention something too, as far as people that want to move into their own Al Moon Lab type skinwalker situation. Author Tom Powell, author of The Locals, Shady Neighbors, Edges of Science, Clackamas, Oregon native, Bigfoot researcher, Fringe Bigfoot researcher. Tom Powell's estate cabin on the Clackamas River is for sale. Also, the property adjacent, literally across the cedar fence from the Al Moon Lab, is also for sale. So both of these places, if anybody, wants to move out to the country from, Corona, New York City, or whatever, they can get a hold of me at strangebrowradio@gmail.com, and we can schedule a virtual walkthrough. And if this is, this is somebody's dream, if they've got the money to do it, you can drop, I'm thinking probably close to $400,000 or $500,000 on both of these places, and walk away with quite a few bits of acreage and a really cool backstory.
Now, does that body of water adjacent to the lab, does that ebb and flow, or what's up with that? Because I notice sometimes there's water in some of the images, and sometimes it's just like a bog. Is there a dam, or what is that body of water where all the footprints were cast? Or is that
Oh, so that's you're talking about what's called the London Track. So that is the lake, and it drains every winter, called Cottage Grove Lake.
answer?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yep. Gotcha. Now, when it drains, is it just from the natural runoff, the water table? Or is it
right.
a man-made thing?
Yeah, I think that they open the gates in the winter and they let the water out, and then it just turns into a muddy lake bottom, and then in the spring they open it up for, well, not this year. I mean, it's a full lake. All our lakes are full and nobody's in them. But I think they just opened up fishing out here. So I think maybe the lakes probably got some fishermen on them finally.
Yeah. They opened. I know I saw some guys fishing today, and in this neck of the woods, they closed golf for a while, and they reopened it. I went out and had a terrible round. It was fun as hell. Saw some really bizarre things in the air, though. I saw these like chemtrails that were in a perfect back and forth squiggly S pattern, really tight. So it couldn't have been from like a big jetliner or something. I don't know what they were from. And then it was like an S pattern like this. And then adjacent to it was like the scribble. It looked like somebody had just taken a spray paint can and went like that.
Or they were using an Etch-a-Sketch.
Something like that.
That's right. It's like the Truman Show. They're up there.
Yeah. And so I'm looking at these, and this is way down in Whitehall, which is an hour and a half southeast of us. And I'm looking at this up in they have big sky down there. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, well, this is some weird stuff. So I looked at my friend. I said, look at that up there. He goes, wow, that's just weird. And then later in the day, he gets a video from his friend on Facebook up in Newcomb, which is another 40 minutes north of us, with the exact same images in cloud in the sky up in Newcomb. I mean, the same thing. The same S pattern with the scribbly on the side. I mean, exactly the same thing. And I'm thinking, what is that? What is that? Did it move down to Whitehall, or it didn't? It seems like if it did, it would have dissipated by the time it got all the way down there. That's like
some kind of thing. They have the same phenomena all over, including here. I don't know what their overall plan is, but chemtrails seem to be real. There's enough, I think, open evidence about them modifying weather at the very least. I mean, NOAA has been modifying, they call it cloud seeding, since the early 70s, I believe. So we're talking about aluminum, though, at this point. Barium, strontium, aluminum, I think, are the three big components that are found in farmers' fields. That, with everything going on with Roundup being attached for bioengineered fruits and vegetables, it's just, I don't know what we're ingesting anymore. I just go on, keep drinking my Bud Light and try not to worry about it.
Me too. I'm right there with you. Love it. Love it. It's a good way to be. Sometimes you just got to be happy and not think too much.
No.
Anyway, we're not getting a whole lot of... Oh, look at Bomber says we have that here too, Adam. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this is something that I've been meaning to say since the beginning of the show, and I just want to thank Carrie for bringing it up. Oh, I forgot. Happy Mother's Day to the moms out there. So anybody who's a mom, happy Mother's Day. Hope it's been a good day for you. Not sure what you guys are up to, but congrats. Keep doing a good job, no matter how old or young you are. Jake, anything else you want to add to this discussion this evening, bud?
Well, yeah, I jumped in the rain locker today, especially for this interview. Man, I'm just glad I got my hair combed once this week in these COVID times. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was really nice to have you here.
Yeah,
we'll definitely keep in touch. Hey, Tobe.
Yeah, we've only scratched the surface. I mean, we've almost gone 2 hours, but I feel like we've only really just started. So,
Yeah. Well, anybody who wants to listen to the audio can do that. Just type in the Al Moon Lab or Strange Brow Radio. You'll see some iteration. I think Strange Familiars has some of our episodes up. Tim Renner and I did at least 2 episodes about the sounds that have come out of that area. But for $3 at strangebrowradio.com, you can listen to 4.5 hours worth of story and sounds, and it's good audio. It's been cleaned up by a guy named David Ellis. It's not just a rickety old recorder. It was with a stereo Tascam DR05 and a parabolic. So, if you want to hear the others, which is what I'm going to call this, you guys rock the Tascam too. Cool. They can get a hold of that, strangebrowradio.com.
Love it. Can't wait to check it out. We might have to have you on the show again at some point, because I need to have somebody to have a beer with once in a while.
Yeah. Okay? We'll up our game to a Guinness next time.
I just picked these up. This is the first Guinness I've had.
Oh, nice. All right.
First Guinness I've had in
out of a can
months.
Too. I love it.
Yeah, man. Doing good. Hey, guys, everybody out there in the interwebs, if you're watching this now or you're watching this after we film this and you decided to still watch it anyway, thanks for checking it out. Tobe Johnson, it was awesome, even better than expected to talk to you tonight. Had a blast. Jeremy, I love you. What time we working what time are you gonna come slave away for me for free tomorrow morning?
Hey, we got to ease into these. We got to set 14 fence posts tomorrow, and I'm the poison ivy free kind of
the freaking digger. All right, put them to work.
So yeah, we got to eat these things.
It's gonna be a big day.
I'll be there in the morning.
So we're gonna end this broadcast. Tobe, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with you here quick, guys. Thanks for checking everything out. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Love. God bless. Keep it real. Keep it squatchy. Keep it fresh, baby. Come on, Jake. Love you. Love you, Jake.
These COVID times. What are we doing? What's going on?